everyone. Welcome to the Mystic Views. I'm a little not with it because we're still in the process of moving and renovating, so I'm broadcasting from a guest room, but I hope you guys don't mind. I also wanted to tell you about some changes to drkimberlyrackley.com. The whole layout's going to be changing, as well as the logo and the dog's barking. But you can go join drkimberlyrackley.com. It's free. I do a lot of free readings and classes. So go to drkimberlyrackley.com and join the network. It's free. And tonight, I'm excited to open the door and get rid of my dog. Well, okay, I'm staying at my sister-in-law's, and there are 6 dogs in this house and 6 people, so there you go. My guest tonight is Jim Malliard, the host of the Malliard Report. I like to call him Ducky, or the Duck Man. He's a pretty cool guy, one of my very favorite people in the whole world. How you doing tonight, Jim?
I'm doing pretty good. I've got to close out of all this other junk that I was into. Okay. Sorry, I'm better now. Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for the wonderful introduction. And you're not the first person to quack or call me Duck Man or whatever you want to call me, so it's all good.
I like Ducky. Every time I say Ducky, I also think of NCIS and Ducky because he's my favorite character on NCIS. So I have my very own Ducky. I have you.
What? Yeah.
Although I won't ask you to perform an autopsy or anything.
That'd probably be your best idea, but, whatever makes you happy.
Unless you could figure out how to autopsy a spirit. That would be pretty cool.
Well, I'd have to capture one first and get it on the table, I think.
Have you ever captured an apparition?
No. I've seen a couple that some of my team members have captured, but I've never been on the trigger end, so to speak, of doing it.
But you're like me, you can see them. You have seen actual spirits in full form before.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Tell us that story, because that's one of my favorite ones.
Which story are you referring to?
The one in the woods with, I think, the Indians. That story.
Oh, yeah, that story. Well, I think you just told it pretty much.
Sorry.
No, it's you've got to be in the right frame of mind and in the right place in your life to experience something like that. So I was just walking with a couple of our team members and walked through the woods into a clearing, and sure enough, it seemed like a Indian village, which was kind of weird because I wasn't the only one to experience it. And so I guess that's validation instantly. And then I don't know, it was just weird. It was just. But we were working with a shaman at the time, and it was just a combination of everything that had led up to that point, and then that moment was kind of a trip.
Really? I mean, what did you feel? Were you in awe, or?
Well, it wasn't awe. It wasn't anything feeling. It was just that it kind of became a still frame. You just had it, and then I don't know how long it was there. There was no words. I don't remember any words. I don't remember any sounds. It was just kind of, I don't want to say Hollywood set, but I don't have any other way to put it. And then it was gone again.
So you're kind of like in the zone. I know with me, when, even though I'm used to things like that, when something really intense is happening, it's like time stands still for me. It's like that kind of thing, like time will stand still, and there's only that moment and that experience, and
yeah, you lose time.
Yeah.
I mean, was it just a second that I had deja vu from a past life or whatever? I don't know, but it is what it is, which was weird.
That does people do have past life experiences that real. I mean, like it's happening right in front of you.
Right.
People do have experiences like that. Yeah. So was that your most defining paranormal moment, or do you have another defining paranormal moment?
I don't know. That would probably be one of them. That would probably be it.
Yeah?
Well, yeah. There's probably another one, but I can't really get into it because the details there's just from a private family case, and it gets too.
Oh yeah, I have to watch those myself.
Gets too touchy in there, but same day though, so it was a good day.
Really? The same day?
Same day.
Wow. So you were like in the paranormal vibe thing going on there.
Yeah, it was a good day.
Have you had another day similar? Like, has there just been a day where something magnificent has just happened back to back?
Nope, that would be the day if I was going to define it as
the day.
The day. So.
Wow. So you were working with a shaman. Did the shaman like call out the spirits, or how does that work with the shaman?
I have no idea how this incident related to the working with the shaman, but it was weird. There was another incident where the team went to Gettysburg, and I got back and we went out to see him probably 3 months later, because you never really called to schedule an appointment, you just kind of went. And he grabbed me because I had a couple team members with me, and he says, next time you go to Gettysburg, you should at least call before you go. And I went, what? And no one told him. He says, yeah, I know. I know you guys went. You should have called and told me because that was just a miserable weekend for me. And I said, okay, next time we go, I'll give you a ring. You know? So I know the reverse is true, that he could watch us, so I'm sure he was able to turn the table on us. So
yeah.
we never really talked about it.
So you've actually been to Gettysburg?
Yes, a couple times.
What did you feel? What was your impression? I have never been there. I've been to other historical battlegrounds, and I always have a challenge with myself because it's so intense and just too much comes at me at one time.
Yeah, I'll agree with that notion. There's too much. I have a love-hate relationship with Gettysburg because Gettysburg is the place that really opened my interest in the paranormal, because of my son when he was 7 months old starting to talk and babble to something that wasn't there. And then we went back as a team, and being more open to it and all that other stuff, I had an experience down in Devil's Den with one of our team members. I said, because we were talking about how the gravedigger was kind of, how do I say this, lazy, and he was shoving bodies down cracks of rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, can you imagine the smell? Within probably 10 seconds, I got the worst smell, this breeze of worst smell of my life. It wasn't swamp. It wasn't one of my team, never smelled anything like it. Probably smelled it for about 5 seconds, and then the wind shifted direction. And I said, I'm never asking a question like that again.
Well, yeah, you should be careful because not many people know this, but you're pretty psychic yourself. You're an empathic intuitive, aren't you?
I don't put words to it. I hate the word dabble, but it is what it is. I don't really.
You just seem to know things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're always right with me. You'll send me a text or a message with just one word, and I don't know how it is you know, but you always know something related to what I'm doing at that moment. Just like with the paint in the chat room today. I was painting over blue all day, and you put blue. You had no way of knowing that whatsoever.
Sometimes it's cryptic, though. I mean, there have been times where I've sent you messages that made no sense whatsoever and still don't make sense, so I don't know.
I know. I'm still trying to figure out the piece of paper under the red notebook, because I do have a red notebook, and I always put it on top of everything else I do at the end of the day, but I still don't know what's important under the red notebook, besides the book I was writing.
Well, maybe that's it. Well, I guess time will tell on that.
Yeah. So I want to... well, as you know, a host of a show, mm-hmm. I always like to. You have an amazing show, and I'm just wondering, what is it that you think makes the best guest? Like, what would you say your best guest is or was?
Well, the best guest has a fascinating point of view and willing to delve into it and out of it into different things. Because I don't like just taking it from the front angle on things. There's always a backstory or a front story or just a thread that needs crossed. It's just not always the same I hate asking the same questions that people ask all the time.
Yeah.
I don't want to get, I hate to say it this way, I want to get people off their talking points and make them, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but tell me their story differently because of the question I asked.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a challenge because you want to get the answer that, maybe to the question that everyone else is asking, but you want to do it in a different way.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I could ask you, what's it like being a medium? Well, that's great. But I could also ask you, so what are the challenges of being a medium when you're out in public, or, and you're still going to get pretty much the same answer, but that in public adds an extra dimension to when you're starting to phrase your answer.
Exactly. I mean, because you're one of my favorite hosts. I mean, I love coming on the Malliard Report, and it's amazing. It just flows so easily because you know how to draw out the best things out of your guest. I've been asked how I do that. How do I get them so comfortable? Or I start simple. I start with the first question out of my mouth during the show is, tell me about your project, or tell me about your book, or whatever it may be. And it seems that open connection that I want to talk to them about them helps build the bridge that goes throughout the hour. Yeah, that's true. I mean, right off the bat, you've always made me feel comfortable. The very first time, I had no problem, just going with the flow. I mean, you made it just so easy. The questions were challenging, but you made it easy to flow into it. Yeah. Yeah. That's the goal. And that's the other thing. People always use the word flow. Where's the flow come from? The flow comes from not slamming on the brakes and taking a break. Yeah. Because you lose all of that flow once you take a break. Yeah, you want to keep the momentum going. It's like a train. Yeah. Once you stop a train, you've got to get it going to 60 miles an hour again. That takes time. It does. I've noticed that, I'm not the only guest that you've had that thinks that you're awesome. And, you're like a favorite host of a lot of people. And that's exactly why. You know how to keep the flow and the momentum going. Yeah, it's not easy to keep an hour show together. And people just think, oh, yeah, well, some people need that break to regroup. And if your guest is being short, sometimes I'll run out of stuff that I wanted to ask them. So you're digging back through their little short answers, trying to pick another... Form another question that because at some point, there's a word or a phrase in there that they'll just take off and talk for 5-10 minutes on. But you have to get them to that point. Exactly. Like with we always mention him, like with David Roundtree. Well, he's so fascinating, and he knows everything. And once he answers one question, you think of 20 more just from that one question, and you can't fit enough in because what he's saying is so interesting. I had David on a few weeks ago, and I had 3 phrases wrote down for my notes. Normally I do a whole bunch of stuff, but I know, I've talked to David a number of times. I know David. I know he could fill an hour by himself. I listened to him do that a number of times, so it wasn't like I needed to overly prepare. But as he was answering my questions, the conversation took a different twist than I thought it was. We started talking more spiritual things, and I'm scribbling notes because I don't hear David talk about the spiritual end of things a lot. So I want to follow back up with this question and that question and mention this. And, it's like this little simple sheet of notes that I had is now scribbled all over with things. And yes, I want to come back to the technology because that's what, he's known for. And it's just, sometimes I joke with David, I need the crowbar when I have him on to get everything in. I want to try to get in, but it's tough. That was one of my favorite shows, by the way, for both you and for David, because, normally he is talking the technical side of things, and he's a very spiritual person with the whole shaman thing, and I don't think that gets out enough, and it was one of my favorite shows. I actually listened to it 3 times. Well, you're the one. I enjoyed it. Yeah. No, it was because I listened to David just a lot, just to mess with David. And I crashed a show that he was on the next night, and he didn't talk about being spiritual at all. So I had to crash the show and ask him a question. But
I don't know.
You hardly even talked about his upcoming book. I mean, but you've already interviewed him on the book. But
No, I haven't spoke to him about his new book.
You haven't?
I have not.
I'm assuming you're going to before it comes out in August, right?
Yeah, we're working on a date right now.
You know, the book is based on where I am right now.
Yes, I do. I've heard him talk about the book several times, so I guess maybe that's why I avoided the whole subject, because I was done with it. But I will bring it back on and obviously talk about the book. But
you do. I mean, have you read it yet?
No.
I have it, and
I have not.
It's awesome.
He hasn't sent me the picture version yet, so.
I might have to get on to him about that. Okay, so besides David, he gets enough attention anyway.
Yeah, he does. Does a good job for himself.
He does. What is your most, I guess, memorable guest, or the one that most surprised you? That's a better way to put it.
Oh, memorable or surprised me? I don't know. I don't really look at it in those terms, but one of my good friends, Andrew Nussbaum, he was a day trader by trade. So when he came on and started talking time travel, the level of knowledge that he had on that subject just blew my mind. I never expected him to be that well versed and that knowledgeable on something that seems kind of not his forte, from being a Wharton Business School graduate to, it just...
Yeah.
He's just amazing to me. And everything. I've talked to him about different paranormal subjects and different marketing subjects and this, that, and the other. And if he doesn't know, I always see the message will be, give me 48 hours, I'll be back to you. And there's always a message that's a paragraph long from somebody he knows that is I was asking him about marketing the show, and he says, I really don't know, let me find out. And he talked to a well-known marketing head of a well-known Fortune 500 company and got back to me and said, this is what he said. And I went, "Ooh, thanks."
Wow, that was nice.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Andy's a nice guy anyway. I mean, he's very approachable. I mean, he's always like, I don't talk to him a lot. It's just like through social media or whatever, but he seems to know everyone, like, or he at least responds to you like you're, his closest friend. And yeah. I like that about him.
He's one of the... I just took a shot in the dark because he posted on my team's Facebook page about a website. And I said, tell me more about the website, because the website linked back to his Facebook page, so it was kind of redundant circles, so I wanted to know more. And ever since then, we've been talking about building that brand and building my brand and building... he lives in Nepal right now, so there's that end of things, so I get to talk to him about that. So he's just a fascinating cat.
He is. He really is. So what's your goals for the Malliard Report this year?
My goals for the Malliard Report this year? I don't have any. I really have no idea what they are right now.
Just gonna flow?
Because it seems every time I set one, I supersede it. I've recently picked up 19 community, I forget the classification, FCC, but they're broadcast stations, and they're...
You've gone AM, right?
AM, FM, so they're small stations. They don't have the big signal power, but they're still broadcast stations. Actually, I've just got a message the other day. I haven't got the final information, but there's a few of these stations in other countries that are picking up my show. So it's going to be syndicated internationally on these small broadcast stations. I did the podcast numbers the other day from March to March. It was 80,000. My goal last year was to have 100,000 in the year, so I'm closing in on that fast.
Nice.
Probably. So I don't know. I don't know what the next goal is. Every time like I said, I've adjusted the eye level so many times right now. I don't know what the eye level is, because I don't think SiriusXM would have a serious interest in my show, and I'm not pursuing them because it burned a bridge with one of my great internet partners. And
that's not good.
I'm not interested in doing traditional AM, FM radio because I don't want to put those breaks in my show. Now, if somebody would come along and want to edit it together so it would go out to those networks, I guess that'd be a possibility then. So I'm really handcuffed by what I can where my next level is, besides getting more digital listeners.
Yeah. I mean, I thought you getting on dark matter radio was a big deal. Because that's just amazing. That's awesome.
It is a big deal, and most of the shows there currently are on the broadcast media, or have been, or were, they're professional radio people. So, and I'll tell you, I haven't talked about this, but I got browbeat one night by Keith, the general manager there, about how my show was going. And I when he pointed these things out to me, they made perfect sense. I was, overly critical or talking too much about what I was doing. So he kind of popped the light bulb in my head, and ever since then, I feel the show has got 100 times better than it was, and the transition from the pre-show to that one to the pre-show the next week, nobody really noticed the difference, but I noted the difference in myself because now I have the confidence that I'm doing a much better show than I was.
Oh, I think you've always done an excellent show, but I can see where, a producer like Eric, he never complains, though. He's so sweet. I can see where, they have their own expectations. And
well, he's worked with Rush, he's worked with Art Bell, he's worked with, so he knows the professional high-end talking business, so to speak. Right. So his critique of what I was doing, it wasn't bad. It was just a few minor points of things that I did. I guess I hadn't realized that I was doing. It was just stupid stuff that I was saying or doing. Like I said, nobody notices what he told me, but I've noticed, and I know the difference, and now I've had this added level of confidence in myself that, hey, I am doing a better show because of what he told me.
That's always good.
And nobody ever likes to hear what they're doing wrong.
Oh, no. I mean, I do, but not... So I always want to improve, and I know I have a long way to go. I mean, you've taught me a lot of things, and so has Eric, and I know I still have to integrate all of that into a show that actually is something.
It comes from seat time. That's what I always tell people. What they want the best advice. Well, you've got to do it. You've got to just get comfortable within yourself doing it first, and then you can progress.
Yeah, it's just my life has been so crazy lately with all these changes that it's hard to set yourself up the way that you want to be set up. But luckily this time with the renovating, my husband is using one of the rooms and making me an actual studio. So I'm going to have a background and everything. So I'm really excited about that.
That'd be nice. I'd love to have a real studio, a real office studio somewhere I could do some real work. But
well, you do good now.
Yeah, but I just want kind of how's that go? I want my space somewhere. But
yeah, I know.
Someday.
I miss MySpace now. We've only been on the in-between for 2 weeks and 2 shows, but I still miss MySpace. Yeah. And you're on PIN now. PIN 2, right?
I am, and I'm on PIN Radio. So, pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
It's good. It's all exposure, and it's all good. So
you get around. Pretty soon, you won't have any feathers left because you'll be putting them everywhere.
That's part of it. You got to put it out there, and I'm at the point where it's time to get it out there and see where it goes. So
yeah. All right. I love talking about radio, but you have this idea or concept on paranormal standards. So tell me what your concept of paranormal standards are.
Well, my concept for paranormal standards are to kind of, it's not going to be the textbook or any certification or anything. It's just to get people out of the mud they're in now, so to speak. I want people to start thinking about how they're processing their video, EVPs, their pictures, how they're doing their investigations, just to raise the bar just an inch. I don't want to go too far. I know it's going to take time to get everybody to even think about these, but it's time that people start saying, you know what, we need to have a standardized process of how we investigate, instead of going, well, I might have had the recorder in my pocket. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had the handheld camera, and it looks like the Blair Witch Project. Or, is that an orb, or is that dust? It's just, it's time to stop having these stupid little concept issues. It's time to say, oh yeah, my EVP is undoctored in 10 seconds long of some before and after audio. It seemed, when I first came up with the idea, it was right after those investigators burnt down that plantation down there in the south, and I'm like,
yeah,
you know what? I need to tell people, don't burn the place down. I mean, it sounds simple, it sounds stupid, but at some level, somebody needs to hear it, apparently, or don't trespass. It's just so stupid at times but nobody's saying it, so I'm going to say it.
And it needs to be said, like with the EVP, I have 3 points that you mentioned: the orbs, the EVPs, and
I did good there laying it out, didn't I?
Yeah, the EVPs. People, if you have to listen to your EVP a million times to get what it is saying, it's not an EVP. An EVP should be clear. I mean, if you have an EVP that's worth hearing, then it's going to say something that you're going to understand. I mean,
and not only are you going to understand it, but others are going to understand it without seeing that it says "listen to pen."
Yes.
As the file name.
Exactly. And then the problem I have with investigators who are all listening to the EVP, one investigator from a team will be reviewing the audio, and they'll think they hear a certain phrase, and they tell the other investigators what they're hearing. So that puts an idea in the other investigator's mind that is what they're supposed to be hearing. When that might
just
not
like the
be
file
what
name.
they're hearing. Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't want to say it's elementary stuff, but it is. It's just stuff that goes unsaid. Everybody just assumes that everybody else knows it, and that's not the case.
So have you thought about actually making an outline of all these things and writing them down, like in a book or a guideline for paranormal teams?
I have them kind of tweeting out right now. I'm going to categorize them. I've built a website for it. Well, they're on a website right now. I've kind of got to finish it. No, I'm not going to put them in a book. I'm just going to keep pushing everything I can find onto this website. I'm just going to give it away. That's going to irritate those people that want to sell certifications and this, that, and the other. I really don't care.
I know. I hear a lot of talk these days about mediums and psychics being certified, which is not a bad idea, but I mean, the whole process of being psychic is something unexplainable in the first place, and being psychic isn't something that you should use as actual proof, validation, or you know what I mean, or the end all be all. It's just an option. It's information.
Well, I think David, been mentioning David again, this is great, is on the right track if we're going to certify people with the brain wave study, the physical condition study. Mm-hmm. You know, there's more pieces than holding up a playing card and saying, which one is this?
Right. Yeah, it is. And because psychics receive in different ways. I mean, you could hold something up to me one time, and I will have no clue what is on that card. But if you're holding up another card that triggers something that's already passed through me or is in my perception, then I'm going to get what's on the card. I mean, that's just how it works. Yeah, I'm lucky because I've worked with David before, and I still do, and he's validated me himself, so maybe he won't put me through the actual certification process since he's already validated me.
But no, he's the last few, I want to say month on his show, he's been talking to different mediums and asking them this questionnaire. And like I told him that night on the show, I've heard some trends that I'm not documenting, I'm not keeping track, like I'm sure they are. So it is interesting to see the trends start to develop from mediums, and you know. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. Well, I find it fascinating. I'm sorry that we're getting off on David, but The whole experiments that he does with the theta state and everything, I'm a theta facilitator. I go into theta all day long to do healings and scans and remote viewings. I would love for him to hook me up to a machine and see me go into theta. I mean, I would like to see my own brain, on a chart going into theta. I think that would be fabulous.
There was a lot of information out there that would make validation or certification or whatever word you want to put on it. I mean, when it's a lot clearer when somebody can point to a graph instead of somebody saying, "Well, I held my opinion." Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, would you work with a medium? I mean, does your team, Meadville Paranormal, do they use a medium, or have you ever?
I have used a medium, and I would do it again if the right one presented itself. The one we had moved back to Kaiser, West Virginia, Saints Paranormal. Hi, Mike. You're probably not watching, but you might someday. He listens to my show all the time, so. But yeah, it's not necessarily. I'm not looking for just the medium. I always look for an investigator first. So. Right.
Exactly.
Because we are a small group, so you have to pull your weight, so to speak. I don't want to. Yeah, there are plenty of mediums that would do a great job, but they're not for my team. So.
Right. Like our team, Nightside, we have like 12 members now. Because we all can't be on an investigation at the same time. We have to this time 4 people go and next time the other 4 go because that's just who's available.
Right.
So I'm the lead medium and the assistant director, but we also have 3 other empaths on the team. But we also have 2 different tech guys. But everybody knows everybody else's job except for mine. But I mean, the empaths they do pretty well feeling their way around an investigation. But everybody has some sort of knowledge of everybody else's responsibility, except for me. I don't do. I'm not a tech girl. Everyone knows this, so everyone else sets up and all that kind of thing, and not Kim. No, I will totally mess it up. But yeah, well, I mean, everyone should know how to investigate, though, no matter what your job is.
Yeah, and I think we're down to 5 or 6 right now, so it's more of a challenge for us to get out, and we have to plan a little bit harder, but it's good, though. I've had up to 13, 14, and I won't go back that high, so.
I know, even 12 right now, I mean, I'm glad that we're 12 strong, but sometimes it is hard to keep up. And yeah.
Personalities I'm getting clashed and mixed and feelings hurt because you can only take somebody to an investigation.
Yeah.
And truthfully, I can't it's been 8 months, I guess it is, since our last investigation, and there's no bitterness, there's no desire, there's no, we should, there's no infighting about that. Everybody realizes that the people that call us are supposed to call us. It goes back to working with the shaman.
Right.
We're working in places that we need to work, and if it goes a year, if it goes a year, 18 months without an investigation, I mean, we do get together and we discuss investigation techniques and all this other stuff, but the act of investigating, I think most of us do it on a daily basis within our own framework of what we're doing. So.
That's true. I mean, I do paranormal consultations in my practice, and I do it for other teams as well. So I'm still active, paranormally almost every day. But our last investigation was in January at the Clay County Jail.
Right.
Yeah. They've been there twice. I've only been there remotely. I mean, I've been there before, but without them. We're going again in May because it was really fascinating. But my favorite part was I participated remotely. And to me, that's basically what I became known for in the paranormal, was when I started with Ghost Guys, which is way in the past. But
hey, but due to that Twitter feed and that connection, that's how we got connected. And
I know.
So we got to take.
I'm so glad.
Every path leads to a crossroads, and then you take it and see where it goes. So
It does. But the whole remote investigating to me, that's the best part, because I'm more validated when I'm doing an investigation remotely. I mean, you can't do that, but you because you're so intuitive. Like, don't go where there's an orange. Remember, you told me that last year, and you were right. Don't go where there's an orange.
That wasn't really investigating, though. But
I know, but it's the same kind of concept.
Maybe I live in a crayon box. I noticed that we've been talking about red notebook, blue, orange. Maybe there's some kind of color. Maybe I'm like who was the guy that invented the Crayola crayons? Maybe I'm him in the past life.
You could have been. I'll have to do a reading on you and find out. So you had a show a few weeks ago about mediums, and you invited mediums to call in. I invited everybody to call in about mediums, but go ahead. So what prompted you, and what did you learn or discern about mediums from that show?
Before that show, I've always been on the fence about mediums and investigating and that whole. Even though I know that there are some that are real and some that are fake, and you have to do your own. So I really don't know any more than I knew when I started that show. But it's a good conversation to have. I had 5 callers that night, 4 that were either mediums or pro-medium, and then I had, forget his name off the top of my head, who was from the UK calling in live at like 2:30 in the morning saying, I just don't believe him. Oh, okay.
I know. I thought that was great. I mean, everyone's entitled to their thing.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of looking for. I wanted the dynamic. I wanted to hear different people's thoughts, because that's how I learn, through hearing different. That's why I enjoy my show, because I get to ask the questions. I don't like to read. I don't like to watch movies, but boy, I can sit down and I love that art of conversation. And so to hear different people give me their viewpoints, and that's just what I'm into.
Yeah, I mean, to me, a medium has to be experienced before someone can believe what they are, or even the information that they're giving. Just like in the paranormal, most people will not accept the paranormal unless they experience an aspect of it themselves. And it's the same thing with psychics and mediums. I mean, I think.
Yeah, to a degree, no matter how many references or positive star reviews that you may have, or anyone has, until I've had that positive reaction with you, that stuff doesn't mean anything to me. I'm always skeptical of everybody, not just mediums, everybody, investigators, anybody I come in contact with. Sad to say that. I always tried to trust people, but after being burned a few different times, it's kind of like, you know what? I'll be cordial and civil, but if you want in the circle, earn your way in. You're not just getting your way in. Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
All right, I have to ask, because this was news yesterday.
Okay.
What do you think about sci-fi? I mean, I kind of knew that this was going to happen anyway, but what do you think about sci-fi canceling Deep South Paranormal?
Not surprised. Was a horrendous show. Was wasn't my cup of tea. I don't normally watch paranormal shows, but I was encouraged to watch a clip of that show, and my wife made me watch the intro to that show at one point, and that's all I needed to see. I knew that wasn't anything that I wanted to watch any more than that. So I've probably seen 10 minutes tops of that show. And so we're talking TV. I want to throw this out there, because I've been known to be the talker when it comes to this. I've made this prediction that Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures crew are both going to get canceled.
Yeah.
Back in November, I made this prediction. Now, here we are, March. Ghost Hunters is not coming back until October.
Which is kind of a sign.
Kind of a sign. They're going to have their last Halloween and then on. Because I was reading their Twitter feeds, and they were thanking everybody for their winter season, and now they're not coming back until October. So they were planning on being back in June or in the summer, but they're not. Ghost Adventures is buying ads on Twitter and on Saturday nights. Now everybody says Saturday nights, that's a great night to be on TV. Then they don't know the TV business.
No,
Saturday is the worst night to be on TV.
Especially if you're in the paranormal, because that's when everybody goes out to do the paranormal thing.
And somebody passed me a story that Zach was upset because somebody didn't buy his car for King's ransom, and I said most of his viewers can't drive or can't afford that ransom because they're between the age of 12 and 21.
This is true. So, what do you think? What do you think his real reason for buying that house in Indiana was? The Hell House.
I think it was to keep his show afloat because he needed the jump in PR, and he needs that show to be the closing chapter to Ghost Adventures and kick off another documentary. It was there all these different threads involved in that. Because without the PR from buying that house, I don't know if the show would have survived. Because that created a big buzz about him in that show.
It did, because everybody was saying it's because, he's possessed with demons himself and that kind of thing. So there was all this talk, at least in my circle, about him being possessed or have attachments, and
I don't get into that. I see him as a cast member. I don't see him as anything more into the paranormal than that. So.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I really don't. I mean, I've never seen him legitimately interviewed on paranormal topics. So until then, he's just a cast member.
Yeah, I guess he is.
Even that CNN story that he wanted Para-Unity, meanwhile he was the executive producer for the Paranormal Challenge. So he's lying out both sides of his mouth, so you take that for what it's worth too.
Yeah, I didn't understand the Paranormal Challenge thing because it's too hard to get evidence in certain... I mean, everything has to be just right, so...
The only thing they should have done different with the Paranormal Challenge is just blindfold the people and just made it completely impossible to do anything normal. Because they're not using their normal equipment, they're not investigating normal places, they've got camera crews, audio guys, everybody following them around. Yeah, you should have just blindfolded them and said, have fun.
Yeah. I don't know. This is why I love you.
I think that would have made the show much better as the people kept walking in the walls, I think. Would have made for better TV, or falling down steps.
Well, that's true. Okay, so if you could design a paranormal show, what would it be like?
That's funny because I've had talks with legitimate TV producers about this. It would be kind of the show that I do now. Would be have you ever seen William Shatner's? He sits down with somebody, caddy corner chairs, and they kind of talk to each other face to face. I can't remember the name of the show.
I'm thinking Weird or what?
No, it's William. No, it's something simple. It's something, but they just sit there and talk, just the two of them. They have all the different cameras around. That'd be it. Just straightforward. The host, the guest, talking about paranormal. No dramatic videos. No, just tell the story. Because if you get the right story, it'll still give you goosebumps either way.
It will. Like the only paranormal shows or haunting shows I really watch are the ones like on A&E or the Bio Channel. And the only reason I like to watch them is because, well, I'm a medium and I sense things. And I can actually watch the show and sense if a story is real or not. And I love doing that. It's like one of my favorite.
I just get frustrated to no end by these para-entertainment shows. I don't even try.
I find them interesting because, I mean, I don't fall for them or anything because I just like sensing what parts of the story are actually true. And I actually make notes because I don't know what I'm going to do with it someday. But
write a book.
You know me, I'm always making notes.
Exposed TV shows. Oh, wait, there's already a good one. Never mind.
Hey, I have a TV show. See?
I know. I've got the face for radio, so I do radio.
You have a face for TV?
No.
But you have a voice for radio. Your voice is amazing on radio, so.
I don't sit still well enough to be do this full time.
I don't either. Look, see, my hands are always going.
I don't think
I have so much energy running through me.
I think I've almost hit the camera once, so I have to remember it's right there instead of waving my hands right in front of it. So
mine's way up there.
Yeah, so yours is far enough away that you can do all the full hand motions and.
Well, my monitor is on a dresser, catty-cornered towards the door so no one sees the bed and all my suitcases. The computer is actually down here, and the keyboard is in my lap. I'm trying.
That's all you can do. Could be worse.
It's better than last week. Last week, at the last minute, I couldn't get video, so it was just audio. I felt so bad.
It happens from time to time.
Yeah, but my guest was awesome, Robbie Lunt. He was pretty good. He
is a good guest. I have to get him on too. So
yeah, you do.
I have so many people I have to get on, and it's just getting ridiculous. But it is what it is.
My list is building. I'm so happy because in May I have Laird Scranton. I'm happy about that, and I have a few exciting people coming up, but I'm not ready to announce them all.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't really try to. I have the list on the website, but I don't really announce guests before the day of the show because I know what happens. If I announce a guest and start really hammering the promotion, they cancel on me because they got sick or whatever. And everybody shows up and goes, "Hey, where's whoever?" And I'm like, "Well, I had to cancel." And they're like, "Well, you probably never even had them booked." And,
Exactly. Well, that happened to me twice, in the last 3 weeks because I had, people who were, on TV or a new book has just come out and they had to cancel because of their publisher or because they started filming.
Right.
And I don't want to say who they were because I want it to be a surprise when they actually do come on. So, I can't complain because they already agreed to come on.
Right.
But, yeah.
It's the nature of the beast.
It is. One's actually in Europe, right now, because he was supposed to be on next week, but they called him to go film. So
when they call, you go.
Yeah. I understand that. I don't understand it at the time when they cancel because then I'm like, oh no, what do I do now?
Oh, there's always somebody willing to come on, so.
So, okay, here's a question. I don't know if anybody's ever asked you. What is your favorite, area or genre of the paranormal or the supernatural? Is it hauntings, or is it cryptozoology or aliens, or what is your most favorite or most interesting?
Well, I still find the ghosts, the ghost spirits, my thing, but I'm enjoying numerology. I've kind of got into that a little bit. Cryptozoology, I love the Bigfoot concept. UFOs, aliens, probably in that order, I guess, just because that's how it flowed out of my body. But it's all interesting. I haven't found anything that I don't want to talk about or don't want to learn more about. So
that's how I am. I want to know everything in every area of the paranormal, and I've had experiences in almost every area. So it's just natural that I want to keep, my toes into each one of those.
Yeah, well, when you own a website that says High Talk Paranormal, you kind of have to not just go in the ghosts, you have to go into more of it. And I do, and I enjoy it.
How is High Talk Paranormal?
Well, it's better this evening than it was this morning, so...
Oh, that's good.
I made the I decided that I'm going from 2 streams to 1, so I contacted the hosting company and said I want to go from 2 to 1, and they said sure. And before I realized that they took the one stream that I had all my players set to play from, so I had to spend all afternoon replaying my site and sending messages to different outlets that said, hey, you need this information now instead of the other information. So it's a lot better tonight than it was this morning. So
well, that's good.
So you'll be able to listen still Tuesday. So
what happened to, I have to ask this because what happened to the chat room?
The chat room, okay. A few months ago, I had a guest, Teal Scott, I want to say her name was, on my show, and there was 65 people in the chat room. 65, yes. My website guy counted them because he was like, is he under a server attack? is he getting hacked? So he came to the page and he went, wow, that's a lot of people. And he started counting them, and then he started figuring out how much usage that each person was using. And if I had 8 more people in the chat room, I would have crashed my site out and crashed the server out. So,
wow.
yeah, I didn't realize that it was that heavy on the server. I thought I could have more than 73 people in there. Of course, that's not really ever really an issue except for that one show. So I kind of hid it. I've kind of been wanting to hide it for a while. So it's still there if you know where it is. And I'll tell you where it is later. I just kind of like those people that like the chat, but I'm trying to get more involved with Twitter while I'm on air.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I like Twitter. It's just I can't keep up with, like, you know, the pin chat and Twitter and the Facebook, and because I like to pay attention to my guests, you know, obviously.
Well, that's a nice thing about having people go to Twitter. They can throw their comments to me on Twitter, and it saves them for me to read at my leisure, because as the chat room spins, if somebody has a great question, I miss it.
Yeah, I noticed that.
On Twitter, it kind of sits there for a while because it hasn't become a junk fest, so to speak. Because if they're taking time to comment or ask a question that they want to ask the guest, it's much more directly to me. And now if they're talking to other people on Twitter, it doesn't get bogged down with me. So, of course, every once in a while I have people tweet me random pictures of random crap because they want to hear me laugh or want to hear me say something that I'm not supposed to say while the guest is talking. So it does have its pros and cons, but
So is your Twitter linked to your Facebook?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I tweet. It goes from my website to my Twitter to my Facebook.
I think I have that set up for either my network or the show. I can't remember. So I always post on my network one for the show just to make sure that the show gets on there.
Yeah. I used to be the other way. I used to go from Facebook to Twitter, and I didn't post from the website there. But now that Facebook's marketing has kind of throttled itself, so to speak, I just go from Twitter to Facebook and let it be what it is in Facebook now.
Yeah, me and Facebook have some issues sometimes. But
yeah,
you have an app now.
I do, and it's undergoing an update right now also because of the whole blowing up my server plan without thinking about it. But yeah, I have an app that you can listen to the show live or download podcasts or read my paranormal headlines or contact the show. And if you want to download it, go to italkparanormal.com/go, and it'll take you to either the iTunes version or the Android version, whichever one it'll pick up off your phone. It'll just take you right to the App Store.
I have the iTunes, and I don't have any problems with it whatsoever. And I've listened to your last two shows.
Don't use it today, though.
Okay. Okay.
It's a mess right now.
I jinxed you. I'm sorry.
No, I jinxed myself. Like I said, I didn't really even think about the ramifications of picking a server. I just I left it up to fate, and I shouldn't have. So yeah. It's okay though. It's good. I'm glad to be downsizing to one. I had music playing, and that didn't work. And then I did the old shows versus the new shows, and I did the market research, and now I'm happy to go down to one for a while. And probably I can't say I'll never have two again, because I probably will, because that's how I just am.
Yeah, I always have to have two of something, because one idea just is not enough. You have to expand on the other.
And at some point, I'd like to do more music. I mean, I like the music stream, but I was the only one listening to it. So,
you're streaming on a lot of you're broadcast partners with a lot of people now, so you're constantly streaming somewhere. I mean, you're on my website and you're on ihuntghost.com.
Right.
And so that's a cool thing.
Yeah, I think I lost 33 different websites. Not doesn't count TuneIn, Stitcher, or any of those big third-party sites. These are actual sites that I had to go to and say, do you want to air my show? Or that includes those low-lot community stations too. So it's out there, and it's great.
Yeah,
So.
I've got to catch up.
Well, you start somewhere. You know, you've been a fan of the show since it started, so you know what the process has been.
It is.
The first 3 networks my show had aired on. Well, I don't want to say have folded, but haven't succeeded because one of them's still kind of on air, but the other 2 have folded.
Well, I'm glad that I'm here because I was glad for the opportunity that I previously had for just radio only. But since, I mean, you and Eric got me here on Penn, and it just feels natural and right, and it's like you know your home, and now I just want to build upon my home.
Well, I was on Eric's show 2 weeks ago, and we talked a little bit off air afterwards, and this is the place to be if you're going to do video. There's no other paranormal video networks out there that hold a candle to this place. So...
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Eric. It's the truth. And I told Eric that if I was going to do a video show, this is where I'd do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, he goes above and beyond, and I don't see how he does all the things that he does. I really don't.
It's a mental condition, but we don't have enough time to get into that now.
I know. I need to get into that mental condition.
I can't argue any of that.
Once you get there, you never get out.
Well, Jim, I know we're coming to the end.
I know.
Tell everybody, you know, what you're going to be doing, who's coming up on your show, all the places they can find you, all that kind of thing.
The easiest place to find me is italkparanormal.com. Links to the stream, to the podcast, to paranormalheadlines.com. Links to my site where you can find out more about me, my bio, my email, all that stuff. So just go to italkparanormal.com. The Malliard Report airs Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern live. It replays, I think, every day of the week now, somewhere, at some time. So just go there, and you can, all the information, you go there at the hub. You can find the different broadcast networks. You can find the podcast. It's all there. So italkparanormal.com is the place to go. And what's coming up, I know the first week in April, I'm doing a call-in show about aliens, not UFOs, actual aliens, the green men, the gray guys. I'm not sure whichever way I want to spin it, but that's what we're talking about. Next week, I have Ariel Kahn on, who's the science and paranormal. I haven't talked to him yet, but I've heard pieces of his interviews. He sounds bright, so I can't wait to talk to him. And after that, I don't know, but I know that I'm taking a week off in April, which may surprise some people. It'll be, yeah, and that week is the same week I took off last April, so I've done 52 straight weeks, if I get to that point. So I'm taking a week off.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Are you going to the beach? Back up to the beach? Isn't that where you went last time?
Actually, I had a show recorded while I was gone on vacation last year, so... but this time I'm not doing that. I'm just going to take the week off.
Yeah, you have a newsletter too, and you also write for a magazine.
I do. I write for Bella's Free Magazine. I do kind of a brief interview with people, and my newsletter's phenomenal. If you go to my website and you don't want to go back ever, you just want to kind of get everything in your email once a week, sign up for the newsletter. You get the podcast link, you get the preview to that night's show. Right now I'm running the biggest name from TV down to the Final Four. So we'll be voting on the finals of who the biggest name on TV is coming up next week. Plus, every once in a while you get a book of a week. Sometimes you get my personal take on whatever's going on. So, and it's free.
Nice. Yeah, it's free. Well, Jim, thanks a lot for coming on.
Oh, anytime. You know that.
Thanks, you guys, for tuning in to The Mystic View. Next week, I'm not sure who the guest is going to be because they haven't verified, but April 1st I have Tim Yancey, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I see you guys next week.
That'd be April 2nd, by the way.
Oh, April 2nd, sorry. It's the paint fumes, man.